Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
I'm Renee, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth, and development of a community of sisters around the world.
And in today's episode, we have something very special for you, actually. We are going to be talking about the direction of To My Sisters. We're going to be talking about what to expect in upcoming episodes. And of course, a good old girl chat, a little bit of gist, catching up, making sure that all the girls are all good.
Yeah.
So you're in for a very, very big treat today.
For real. TMS is evolving.
Crazy.
As you guys know, if you've been a hardcore sister in the sisterhood, we have been doing this podcast since November 2020. And it started off no visuals at all.
Nothing.
Just us keying in our bedroom, my bedroom, chatting. Wasn't our bedroom, please. We don't
we don't do that. No allegations.
We don't need
no allegations.
In my bedroom, just keying. And then it grew into a community, into a movement, into women having very honest conversations about friendship, about womanhood. About everything.
And I think what's been so beautiful about this entire journey is our friendship has been such a core tenet of this journey, right?
Absolutely.
The very first episode being called Frenemies, where we delved deep into our 15-year plus friendship. It's insane to think that we've been friends and sisters for that long, but also insane to think about how much more we have to go.
Absolutely. This is a lifelong friendship kind of thing. You guys already know, like, this is a destiny. I recently put out like a Q&A thing on my Instagram. And someone was commenting, and they kind of precursed their question with, "It's so nice to see you do life with your destiny bestie." And I was like, "Destiny bestie?"
It's giving merch.
Destiny bestie.
It's giving
And I was
merch,
like, that's exactly what this is. And obviously the foundation of this podcast has been that, us being friends who have committed to do life together, hold each other accountable, build together, but also just see each other through the different seasons of life. And in the last over 3 years, we've been delving into the different aspects of that, right? The different aspects of our friendship and what it's taught us. We have a book all about it,
about friendship.
Literally
Who'd have thought? Not I.
And it's crazy to think people have supported us in that. But we've been very protective about keeping this podcast about the main thing.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people ask us, like, why don't you have that many guests? We've had some really amazing guests.
Some guests.
People who we actually love
Right,
to the
and
core and really thought, like, at that time people needed to hear the message. But we often get asked, like, why don't you guys have guests on the podcast?
Yeah.
And it's a very strategic thing. Like, we firstly didn't want to be a podcast that was based on celebrity.
Exactly.
Like, people who would come on and would get views because they were famous, and people came to like just look at these icons of today. But actually we wanted people to be invested in the story and the message of sisterhood. And by God's grace, it's done exactly that, right? Like, there's actually a sisterhood revolution going on, which we get to be a part of. But we felt like the season has shifted a little bit. Things had changed, and we were like, you know what? We talked.
Yeah, we've chatted.
200 episodes of chatting.
Wow. Do you know, sometimes I often look back at like our history of TMS and how much we have spoken.
I'm telling you, it is only... I think it's only God's grace that every episode we've had something to say.
We've had something
because just how much has one got to say?
It seems like we have a lot, and you know,
have a lot to say.
Again, what's also been beautiful is obviously we've been able to feed off of each other heavy. The fact that we're actually friends, we have these conversations both off camera as well as on camera, and being able to share it with the world has honestly been so beautiful. But I know that the sisters are getting, I wouldn't say tired, but they've been a fly on the wall for a minute. In fact, they're part of the 15-year friendship at this point.
They've been with us every year, and you know what? We've done a good job, I think, in laying the foundation of what this podcast is and what it's not.
Absolutely.
And I think it's time to kind of welcome in different voices, different stories, different experiences to chime in on this discussion about female friendship,
absolutely,
womanhood, modern dating, everything that we've talked about and covered, even health and wellness, to make this sisterhood far bigger and truly global. And so I guess welcome to like the new rendition of the
The
Two My
new
Sisters
rendition
podcast.
of the Two My Sisters podcast. I think what I'm so excited about with these conversations is our capacity to be part of healing, right?
Yeah.
I think one thing that has been beautiful about what we've done with this podcast is touch on and articulate some of the real life issues that a lot
Yeah.
of women are going through, have
Yeah.
experienced, and that we've experienced, and actually getting people from our community, not just
Yeah.
celebrities, not just people with platform, but actually people who walk the talk, right? People that have gone and built things, people that are part of our community,
Yeah.
people that actually care about us and invest in us, and
Yeah.
vice versa, to actually have a platform and a space to be able to share that with the world.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
So excited. But even on that, it's also welcoming in differing opinions and
Right.
differing thoughts. And we've talked about this a lot behind the scenes. Like,
Yep.
we have been, I would say accused. I would say accused.
Not accused.
Wrongfully accused.
Oh my gosh. Jail
Of
time.
obviously, with the sort of women that we are, the history we've had, that we've shared on this podcast, as well as our own personal trajectories,
Absolutely.
we have been accused of being quite somewhat elitist.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that language has been used, but that's basically what people are getting at, that we promote or only accept a certain kind of woman,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that's what we encourage every woman to be, which couldn't be further from the truth. And I think what's been beautiful has been when comments like that have come through, it's actually the sisters, like not even our own personal friends, but people within this community who have become invested, who come to not only our defense, but explain that that's actually not what this is, and that's not who we are. And I think because the podcast obviously has been our voices, I think people assume that this sisterhood is just for women like us, women who look like us or have the experience as us or the same views as us,
Yeah.
or, you know, are Christian, are black, are, you know, whatever. And it's like, we want this to be an inclusive sisterhood. But one thing we've also been very vocal about with this podcast is we cannot speak for every woman, though our desire is to speak to every woman. And so this is kind of an evolution that allows us to become not only a more inclusive sisterhood, but actually to pass the mic, as we always say, and give platform to other people to share their stories and experiences, which we just can't, whilst we may have empathy for, we actually can't relate to per se. And I think that allows us to just make this sisterhood richer. Like I said, I think we've built a really solid foundation when it comes to what we've done for the last 3 years, but it's time to kind of build on top of that. And we can't do the building by ourselves.
There we go.
And that's exactly what I guess this new dimension of the podcast is. You know, this new phase is like new setup.
New setup, you know what I'm saying?
It's given they got money now, but actually,
listen, it
it's
really
only,
is giving decadence.
but it's only by the grace of Consult Rich and the team. God
Hallelujah.
bless y'all. But even that is proof that To My Sisters is a fruit of community.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
People actually buying into their vision. Right. And even talking about Consult Ridge, I know they're behind the scenes at the moment
Yeah.
thinking what's going on here.
Yeah.
But obviously that's headed by our friend O'Hara, who is a guy.
Yeah.
And so, Renee,
Oh no.
I throw to you.
I throw to you a past the parcel.
What do you have to say about the introduction of men to the sisterhood conversation?
Oh, I'm so excited for that, mate. I can tell you that for free. You know, what's quite funny is that obviously we want the sisters to shape the conversation as much as listen in and hear it and all that kind of good stuff. So as a precursor to having those conversations, we've been putting out on our social media, what do the girlies think? What do they want to say to men? What do they want to hear from men? And it's really interesting to hear and see some of the questions that we've had from the sisters come in. Some of them are quite accusatory. Some of them are quite, I opened up the questions.
Warranted.
And somebody was like, what do you have to say for the patriarchy? And I'm very excited to bring some guys on here
To answer for themselves.
to answer for their male community. But I think what I'm truly excited for when it comes to bringing men on this podcast is having the space to have those inter-community conversations in a safe space, but also in a way that holds both parties accountable. You often see a lot of these conversations happening online, and there's so much frustration when you watch them because it often feels like we're just going at loggerheads and we're not really coming to any kind of solution. So actually having people that have been vetted and sourced from our community, but equally those that are actually, you know, outside of our community to have these necessary conversations, I think is going to be groundbreaking because we need them. And I know I mentioned healing earlier on in this conversation. I truly think that the conversation between men and women on this podcast will be healing.
Absolutely. Amen to
And we
that.
have intentionally invited people from all walks of life,
Yeah.
right? It's not just men of a certain standard or caliber. We've got younger men, we've
Yeah.
got older
Oh,
men,
nice.
we've got men that have just been married, we've got men that have been married for 20 years plus.
Kids have
We've got
grown.
men that have grown kids. We have men that have kids that are, just turning 2 or 3. So having that diversity and experience of men, I think will be quite healing because we get to hear perspectives from people and oftentimes men that have been absent, not just in the conversation, but actually absent in the lives of women. So
Absolutely.
actually having real life father figures that have been present for, their kids, their community, their wives, actually having men that have stood up for something to actually be on this podcast and have a platform for once. Not only will that cut into the negativity that we often have online, but in person actually restore hope. Hope is a major thing that we really care about on this podcast.
Yeah.
And actually having men that restore hope to women.
Necessary.
Because I don't know about you, Courtney. I go online today.
I've been telling you, the situation is hopeless.
Today. And
Hopelessness.
sometimes in person. I think
Yeah.
sometimes we've been very fortunate that, we have a community of people that genuinely, I can say these are exceptional men.
Right,
And being
right.
able to share them with the world, wow,
Right.
it's actually what we need because
Yeah.
we're tired.
We are
We are
exhausted.
done out here.
Yeah, and the women around the globe can attest, man. Like the women who we get to talk to all the time, the conversation always descends to what is going on with the men.
What's going on with the man then?
What's going on with the
What's
men?
up, guys?
And you know what? At some point, you've got to go to the source. Just be like, yo, what's going on? And so I love what you said. I do think these conversations are going to be around facilitating healing and really threshing out the matter as well. I think it's so easy to sit on our couch and just be like, oh, this is the diagnosis. But actually, I think having the experience of people shared on this podcast will allow us to maybe cultivate some kind of empathy, some kind of understanding, but also unraveling the depth of complexity that has brought about these issues.
Right.
Like when we look at the dating scene, it's easy to just be like, men are mad. But what is that madness?
Yeah.
Like,
What's
let's
the
actually
flavour? Where did it
to
come
the
from?
depths
Where
of
did it
that madness
originate?
that has grown, you know? And so allowing people to come on here and just be like, we are humans.
Yeah.
We are humans that have made mistakes. We're
Yeah.
also humans that are misunderstood because it's not like us women are perfect either
Yeah.
or have a full understanding from just our perspective. But also an ability to challenge people on certain thoughts and be challenged on our own thoughts as well. So, you know, we love a good debate.
A good debate. It's going to be fun. And we're
We
going to try and
do.
hold the fort for the sisters as much as
Facts.
possible
Facts.
below somebody.
And I think that's the key thing about the conversations. Like, we are advocates of sisterhood.
Yeah.
We are advocates of the sisterhood.
Right.
And in this situation, we kind of get to be their mouthpiece. So it's like really making sure that this is also a safe space for women. Because I think, and this is another thing which we discussed at the inception of To My Sisters,
yeah.
content that's out there for women can be so harsh. Like, women are not allowed to have that care.
Downright mean.
Right? And it's very mean. It can come across as bullying, but it's because oftentimes that style of content is what gets the views. It's the controversy that leads to the engagement.
Yeah.
But we were really emphatic about how this podcast had to be a safe space
Right.
for women. And it's not to say that we are perfect, and it's not to say that every woman who has watched our content has delighted in everything that we've said, but it is to say that we are very conscious. Front of mind is
Yeah.
the safety of the women who are listening to this, right?
Yeah.
We don't want a woman to listen to our podcast and then leave having felt like she was attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know you guys are saying we're always coming for your necks and stuff, but you always come back. It's actually put this love.
Hello.
You know? So I think it's making sure that this remains a safe space. And that's actually like our pledge to the sisterhood, that this will always remain a safe space.
Yeah.
And we're not in control of
Yeah.
everyone's thoughts. We're not in control of what they share on this podcast, but we will allow ourselves to challenge them.
Absolutely.
We will try our best to make sure that at the end of the day, like you said, a message of hope is being shared on this platform. Hope about female friendships, hope about dating, hope about womanhood and the future in a world that looks quite bleak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely love that. A world that looks quite bleak.
Yeah.
A beacon of light in the bleakness.
Come on, somebody.
Speaking of being a beacon of light, there
Yeah.
is quite a lot of responsibility that's afforded to having a platform,
Yeah.
right? And we're no stranger to the controversies or the issues that can come when we have folks that may be controversial or folks with differing opinions that sit up on our couch, or folks that just may not have a, let's say, positive PR in every kind of way,
Yeah.
shape, or
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned at the start of this episode the reality of public perception, right? There are some folks that, even for the sisters, they don't like us.
Yeah.
That's a fact of
Yeah.
reality. So I kind of want to ask you, Courtney,
Yeah.
how are you feeling about being the linesman, if you will, of these conversations where we're going to be talking to people that may be contrarian, that
Yeah.
may be controversial.
Yeah.
We're going to be speaking to people that may be outside of our community.
Yeah.
There may be some people that are in our community that
Yeah.
are doing some big things or doing some problematic things
Yeah.
even. What's your thoughts on navigating conversations with individuals like
Difficult
that?
conversations.
Yeah.
I think what's beautiful about this is it just reflects life. Unfortunately, we do not have the privilege of only having conversations with people we like.
Right.
And people, that's not how life works. Like, we have our friendship group and we all think quite similarly. But even with that, there can be rifts that arise of differing opinion.
Yeah.
And the same with society. Just because you have your little group of people who think like you, once you step out of your house, you're going to find some interesting things out there. And I think, like I said, it's a reflection of just everyday life. You have to engage in discussions which can be quite difficult. But I also think the reason why people may think it can be quite awkward is they haven't accepted that womanhood is not perfectly neat.
Yeah.
Right? Not every woman's story is perfectly neat. And I think because we are living in the era of like branding and your personal brand and the story you want to tell, you don't tell the true story. You don't tell the full story. And we've been very honest and transparent about the fact that this is not a space for us to tell the ideal story.
Right.
We are sharing true stories about ourselves, our flaws, the things we've been through. We've talked about addiction. We've talked about eating disorders. We have talked about masturbation. We have talked about heartbreak. We have talked about family trauma. We've brought our own siblings on here to talk about the things we
coming
all
to
got
talk
wrong.
smack about us on this podcast. Can you
You know,
imagine?
and it's not to say we aren't carefully considered about
Right.
what it is we share on the internet, but it is to say this To My Sisters is a sisterhood of real women with real stories.
Come on now.
And real stories aren't perfect, which means every conversation is not going to be neat and easy. I may be sitting down here with someone who I'm like, I don't even know if I agree with when you made that joke, but she's still a woman though.
Yeah.
And she's still somebody whose story is actually valid. And it's not us coming on here to even defend, but it is to say there may be someone watching this podcast who cannot relate to us, but can relate to her,
Right.
can relate to her story. And there is probably more that we have in common than we don't. It reminds me of at our book launch, the live show that we did with Tolly T from the Receipts
Yes.
podcast. She asked an amazing question, which was, do you think birds of a feather flock together is a true statement?
Right.
And my response was, oftentimes when women are being asked that question, it's to illuminate the flaws of their friends, right? Like, oh, your friend is like this, so you must be like that. But there's a reason why you are friends, right? They are more than just that flaw. So she was saying, like, if my friend is a slut, does that make me a slut?
That also make me a
You know,
whore.
sorry to use the slur, but
Yeah.
like, it was like, but your friend is more than just a slut.
Absolutely.
She's not, people may address her like that, but her story is so much more fuller than just her sexual escapades. And you, having formed a friendship with her, know that, right? There's something about her which you, sorry, there's a hair in my face. There's something about her which you actually appreciate.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to narrow in on the bad part
Exactly.
of someone's story,
Yeah.
and then use that moment to define them, write that bit in stone, and then forget about everything else they've done,
Right.
and write the good things in the sand and let it fade away. And I think it's about presenting women as holistic beings,
Yeah.
capable of making mistakes. They're not infallible. Some of us have a past, some of us have present problems.
Very present.
And also
very
problematic
pressing.
behavior. And I think sisterhood is beautiful because it's meant to be a safe place where, one, you can share your story in honesty, but also you can be challenged. If
Right.
your current behavior, your past behavior was problematic,
You finna
this
bang
should
it
be a
up.
place where you can have a healthy conflict and or a healthy conflict resolution about that, and just a conversation about that. And I think women often aren't given that space. They feel like they have to sanitize their story, because I don't want people to judge me. And I think we've been trying to explain throughout our foundations about sisterhood and the hundreds of episodes we have out that, like, sisterhood is a judgment-free zone, you know. And it's not to say we aren't perfect, but I do think when we are talking about judgment, it should be from the sense of, is what you're doing really good? Like a sense of fairness, a sense of justice, versus judgment as in you are less than me, or I get away from me, that kind of thing. It's like, no, I can engage in conversation with you. I can love you. I think ultimately what we're trying to share is love for all women. It doesn't necessarily have to manifest in agreement, but it does have to manifest in respect. And that's kind of what I think about these difficult conversations. I think we should allow women to come with their perfections and their imperfections and just share the learnings and the wisdom that they have gained from those experiences.
I love that. I love that.
I think it's awkward though.
It is.
Because, well, first of all,
It will be.
It will be.
But you know what? In a weird way, I'm really looking forward to the
Same.
awkward conversations.
Same.
Because, like you were saying, they're actually necessary.
Facts.
And I love that you were talking about seeing women as holistic beings, holistic people, because especially in the entertainment industry, especially where we are at with content, people are often consumed, right? We're never given the opportunity to really delve into a person's real story. But then there's something that happens when they are consumed. They become dehumanized. And I'm hoping, and I'm really hopeful that having these awkward conversations on this podcast will give some people their humanity back. Like you said, we can disagree with them. We can have some very, very divergent thinking and divergent, facts, whatever. But actually giving them back their humanity is such a powerful thing to do, especially in today's society where everybody is turning themselves into products to be consumed. I want folks to look at TMS or listen to TMS and say, wow, I don't necessarily agree with you, but I see you. I don't necessarily co-sign what you're doing, or like I don't necessarily think that, what you're doing is even right. But you know what? I actually see you for the human that you really are. And then that can be the starting point of a conversation, because oftentimes we don't give people their humanity long enough to be able to start the work of accountability, of healing, of loving on them, of sharing things with them. And oftentimes I think that even cancel culture, right, has really crept into the content space where people start to take their hands off, or they start to almost leave people to their own devices because they don't think that they're worthy of saving. And I'm hoping that we might actually have some conversations that could save people, save their lives, save their work. Well, forget about their work, save their lives, because that's the most important thing, right? Like actually saving their humanity and delving into those stories. And I think as a testament to our own friendship, the amount of times we've had to have awkward conversations, and we're a relatively, I like to think, conflict-free friendship. We rarely argue or rarely have disagreements, but when we do, we push forward because we see each other for the sisters that we are, and we see each other's humanity. So I'm really looking forward to actually challenging myself, challenging the sisters to look past the product and see the person.
See the person. I love
that.
See the
person, man.
See the person.
And some people.
We are just people. But even with that being said, this podcast also may not save anybody. Like, she said, well, that you may come on here and leave, and we all just think,
that was bad. That was bad. Still don't like you.
But
never liked you.
It's important to be able to sit with that discomfort. I think as women as well, we seek sometimes to fix everything. And it's like, this ain't a podcast where you're coming to fix. We're coming to fix. We're coming to discuss.
This is not Iyanla Fix My Life. As much as we have aspirations. We ain't here trying to fix if you have 6 baby mamas and you ain't got time to see your 12 kids, this is not the place for that. We ain't got enough resources to
support with that right now. But I do think that this is a space, like you said, like it's a safe space for people to just be human beings. And it actually brought to my mind a conversation. Okay, we've talked about the guys. We've talked about the sisters. But one thing we highlighted a lot through prior episodes is that kind of family unit. And intergenerational sisterhood as well. And I think one thing that I would hope that people are excited to see from this podcast is actually hearing from older women too,
Mm.
and older sisters, but also mother figures.
Yeah.
Because I think I was reflecting on this yesterday when someone was asking me a question on mentorship. I think a lot of women don't have the female figures that they would like to have in their lives
right.
to teach them about womanhood, teach them about navigating life through its different seasons as well. And I think the blessing that we have at TMS is that this really is a generational sisterhood that spans across a lot of years. Like, even when we do some of our travel retreats, we end up having people who are like 18, 19, and then 40, all in the same group.
All in the same group.
All in the
and,
same
and
group.
it's not something that would cause any kind of
Any
divergence
issue,
or
yeah.
issues, right?
And it's not condescending, it's not patronizing, but it's interesting because not only can the older women glean wisdom from the younger women and vice versa, it's interesting to see that we're all facing the same issues, just in different ways.
Yes.
At different stages.
Yes.
Like, women who are in their 40s are still asking about confidence. It's just a different type of confidence
100%.
to girls who are 19 or at uni, you know? I really feel like we're going to bring conversations that will bring a lot of understanding, let me say, to our mothers and like why they acted the way they acted, as well as hearing advice.
You know what I thought of? You know that music? Why you act like
Why you
that?
act like that?
Like what? Like that?
Literally, it's why do you behave this way, you know? And I think it's important to realize that, like, we are only so old. There's
Really
so
and
much
truly.
about life we haven't explored. There is so much that we just don't know. And that kind of naivety, it's not ignorance. That naivety is just by virtue of being young.
Right.
But there are women who are older than us who know. They've seen that, like, sometimes what makes sense in theory when you're in your 20s doesn't pan out the same as you thought when you get to your 30s or your 40s
Embarrassing.
or your 50s
Really
or
embarrassing.
60s,
Quite
right?
embarrassing.
And so I think it's really cool that we get to sit down as well with, in the future episodes you'll see, some really cool some really cool older women,
Right.
who have really cool stories,
Yeah.
and can really share with us what they've learned through their decades in this world, man.
Decades. They've got years on us, you know?
Bruh.
And I love it. Do you know what? I
Yeah.
just love TMS,
love
to be honest with
TMS.
you. I'm really excited by all the crazy and cool stuff that we're bringing on this
So
podcast.
this is your reminder to share it.
You
because
should
people
share
then
it.
need to hear it. Okay.
It's about time for you to share it, actually. If you haven't already. No.
But the sisters have been doing well, though. They've been true evangelists
They
of
have.
the TMS pod.
Genuinely evangelists.
Yeah, and we would actually really love to hear what conversations you'd want to hear from us as well. Yeah. But I bring this up to say, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that, like, a lot of what my mum said was right.
True.
But I was stubborn.
Yes.
So
Correct.
100. But what would you say is important to, like, know about our relationship with older women in particular, especially in this day and age?
In this day and age, I think it is having the openness to, from younger women, receive wisdom, but then I think also the openness for older women to engage with young women as well. I think that especially as, you know, social media, more open conversations, etc., thinking about therapy speak, thinking about the ways that there have been lots of people that have been damaged by cycles of quote unquote narcissism or cycles of abuse, and have unfortunately meted out a lot of, whilst they've meted out wisdom, they've also meted out weapons too to the younger generation. I would hope that this would be a conversation of wisdom, but also accountability for all parties involved. And I think there is something so beautiful about being able to receive wisdom from those that have walked a path before you. And I would hope that these conversations are an opportunity for people to understand and, again, see the humanity behind a lot of the older women that we see, the older women that we have around us, but also give an opportunity for the older women to take the mic too. Because I do think there is something about women and youth and the fact that we are platformed, the fact that we are often afforded certain privileges by being young, right? There's so many narratives and stereotypes about a woman's worth being in her youth and her capacity to attract, her the urgency around finding a husband, or the urgency around childbearing, the urgency around, you know, making the most of your optimum years, which for a lot of women is in your 20s. There's this rush, and to actually give back credit where it's due to older women that have been unseen, older women that are holding it down, older women that actually care for us. Because I do think that even nowadays in our generation, we can often look at older women as bitter. We can look at older women as not understanding what issues we're going through right now. There is nothing new under the sun. For every issue that we have experienced, I'm telling you, if our mothers directly have not experienced, they know somebody that's gone through it. They have somebody in their community that's gone through it. And I think an opportunity to build a respectful intergenerational friendship. If there's one thing that I really love about like my current age and where I'm at, especially when I interact with older women, it's the friendship that comes with that. It's that I honor you, I respect you, and you're wise as an older woman. But there's also a deep friendship that has come as a result of honoring our respective places. Like my mom isn't just my mom, she's actually my friend. As much as she can sometimes still frustrate me, I know that beyond the parent-child relationship that we have, she's now also a friend to me. I can say the same for a whole bunch of aunties that I have within a church community, a whole bunch of aunties that I have just generally in a lot of third spaces, and a whole bunch of older women that I see as my mentors. There is something about an intergenerational friendship that is so valuable to younger women in being able to navigate their ship, that I am hoping our conversations, not even hoping, I know that conversations with these older women that we have in our community will bring. And it will also resurface the urgency of having that mentorship, the urgency of actually having older women to be a guiding light. They went before us for a reason.
Come on.
They made the path for a reason. So many of us are here repeating cycles and doing things again and again and again because we don't have the wisdom, or we refuse to receive the wisdom from older women that have gone before us. And as much as we love to say on this podcast, you know, there's a ditch here, you know, watch out. There are some ditches that we're not going to be able to point to because we haven't walked that path and we haven't experienced it. But when it comes to older women, child, they'll tell you if there's a minefield. They'll tell you the color. They'll tell you the height of the villain that you're about to face. They'll tell you the shortcuts, the cheat codes. And I think that that is so necessary in sisterhood because, again, 360 approach to life, understanding that your path needs to be guided by the community around you and guided by the people that have gone before you, not just the people that you're holding the baton with currently, but those that are ready to pass the baton to you as well. So
I love that.
Shout out to the older women, man.
For real.
We need to platform
And
them.
you know what, though? I do understand why a lot of women struggle with that dynamic in their lives.
For sure.
Because so many, and we've unearthed this before, like there are mother wounds. There are, you know, we always talk about daddy issues, but there are mummy issues a lot of us have, especially when we talk about things like eldest daughter syndrome or parentification, feeling like you had to parent your own parents. Oftentimes having to be your mother's friend and not receive that nurturing that came with just being a child and having a mother. And so I think for a lot of women, the issue is it's not that I don't think I need older women. It's that the older women in my life haven't been so good to me. And I think that makes you quite cold to journeying with older women because you're afraid they'll judge you, afraid they'll smite you, afraid they will
smack,
literally, especially if you're experienced with discipline. Because I don't think this is a universal experience. I think there are a lot of people who, if you grew up with, to some degree, a dysfunctional family, you grew up with some kind of trauma, then you know what I'm talking about. Do you get what I mean? Whereas there are some people, they'll be like, what? I love my mom. You know, when I was talking to you about that TikTok, like that girl was like, I call my mom 3 times a day by 12 p.m. What? I'm sure so many people are like, I don't even have my mom's number. Or I don't want to talk to her.
I spoke to her last month.
You know, or it's just an obligation to speak to her. There's no, like you were describing with your mum, friendship there. And people who have had to do that healing with their mother and daughter relationship. I think a lot of people their heart might have become closed off to receiving that insight from older women. And it's not even just from their own fault, their own arrogance, their own stubbornness, but genuinely the way they've been treated by older women, you know, or older women maybe showing a sense of jealousy for their youth or their freedom, or,
Yeah.
you know, instead of using their experiences to guide them, they use their bitterness to hate them. And I think that that's something that has made women resistant
Yeah.
to hearing older women as well as how our generation idolizes youth so much.
Oh,
If you're
my
young, you're
goodness.
energetic, you're charismatic,
What?
I'm gonna listen to you.
Everyday anti-aging cream. Baby, you is 13.
You know,
You is 13.
but there is a place for the older women, the
Yes,
women
there
who take
is.
younger women under their wing
There
and
is.
direct them in the ways of life. And I think, hopefully, I pray that these episodes, these conversations in the future with older women can bring about, like you said, an amount of healing, but also give to women what they may think they can't have in their real life. I think the beauty of the internet is you get to find a bit of a substitution
Yes, you
for what
do.
you may be lacking and deficient in. And I know some women may listen to these episodes and go and call their mum straight away and be like, I just want to hear your voice.
Right.
And some women probably can't, right? Some women probably can't call their mums, don't have that kind of relationship, don't have something that they can mend. And I hope that this episode provides for them a little bit of mothering and nurturing, because I think sisterhood is so beautiful because it provides nurturing.
Yeah.
But there's a type of nurturing you just need from a mother.
Yeah.
And from somebody who looks to you as a daughter, not just
Yeah.
as a friend, but as a daughter, and says, you know what, I'm actually rooting for you and I want to give you the tools you need to navigate this life because you've been doing it on your own so far. Or maybe you don't have everything you need because you've got your friends,
Yeah.
you've got yourself, but you need a mama.
100%.
You need a mum.
Child.
So hopefully these episodes can provide that for you. I'm excited for the future of
Yeah,
this pod.
man. And even to have the the awkward conversations that we want to have with our parents, right? Because there's so many people that oftentimes we may give advice to or write in, and they're like, hey, this is the way my relationship is like with my mom or my pops. I can't be telling them that, you're mothering your son, but you're raising your daughter. And I can't be telling them that you're a bit of a narcissistic something, something, something. I couldn't imagine going to my mom and saying,
And saying that.
you're a narcissistic something, something, according to the dictionary and according to the podcast. So actually being able to have people as proxy and say, look, this is what's happening with your generation. This is the taste and the mark of these interactions with our generation. What do you have to say for yourself concerning these things? How do we navigate these things? And I think for us too as well, contrary to popular belief, yes, we are wise, but we are not the fountain of all wisdom. We're just journeying. And we are hoping to take you guys almost like co-explorers in this conversation. Obviously, we have a whole bunch to add. You guys have listened to 200 episodes of what we have to say, but actually taking almost not a backseat, but sliding down the couch a little bit and having somebody else that has journeyed in these different paths. I can't wait, man.
It's exciting times.
I can't wait.
It's exciting times. Well, and well done to us. Well done to us for actually
us out.
sticking with it.
Yep.
Actually keeping to doing this podcast.
Hello.
Because it definitely hasn't been easy. I think friendship with you and friendship just with having the responsibility of business has taught me that, like, there is real power in integrity. There is real power in deciding that my relationships and how they go are a reflection of me and who I decide that I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And that's positive and negative, right? Like, if your friendship is not going well, it may be a reflection of your lack of character.
Absolutely.
Or if they are going well, it's probably because of your improvement of character. But also, if you decide to end a friendship, it could be because of your maturity as well. So it's just like, actually, as your relationships change, it's probably because your character is changing, your maturity is changing, you're evolving as a person. And I think since doing this podcast, I've evolved in so many different ways. Like,
we're actually older.
We are actually older, but also because we started this podcast at 23, 23 years old, we have gone through different stages, right? Where it's like we are actually thinking about life differently. We are preparing to enter new seasons of life. And it's like, I think our friendship has really helped me navigate that. But also it has challenged me to think about, what does friendship look like as you are changing as a person?
Yeah.
So I think that's my question to you.
That's
How
beautiful.
has friendship changed as you've changed?
Wow. What?
I'm telling you, I'd be in my Oprah
Wow,
bag.
yes, definitely.
Yeah, they
giving
shouldn't have
Oprah.
ever given me a mic.
It's given. Actually, they should have, because this is what we need. We're not out here to, obviously we can do the banter and stuff,
Yeah.
like, what are the 3 things that you're gonna take with you to this abandoned island? Don't worry, we're gonna still coming up with that. I'm in charge of that. But how has friendship changed and evolved as I have evolved? I think what's funny is that there are some parts of friendship that remain unchanged, and that will always be the ground commitment. The one thing that I don't think has necessarily changed per se is we are destiny besties. I don't care what happens. I already told Courtney I'm hanging on to her tailcoat. If she decides to jump out a plane, I'm holding on to your tailcoat like this. No bungee, no harness, no nothing. But I think what has changed and evolved, the level of dedication, the intensity, the sacrifice has changed and has evolved us. I think the many layers that doing quote unquote business with a friendship does, like what it brings forth out of you. When people say you're like gold refined through fire, we been through the fire. We continue to go through the fire. Something is cooking. You know what I'm saying? Let them cook. They're slow boiling us, slow roasting. And I think that has been challenging, that has been hard, but it has been so worth it. Because it means that we have grown. It means that we have grown in depth as well as breadth. I think, not this being a thinly concealed effort for me to just admit that I love Courtney.
That wasn't
there
it.
we go.
That
Yeah,
actually
but
wasn't it.
inevitably it's gonna come out.
I didn't think it was. I thought you were talking about friendships generally.
Yeah, of course, friendships generally, but my reference point is always gonna be our friendship, man. You know what I'm saying? Oh, here we go. There it is, guys, isn't it?
Trey romantic.
God, platonic. Courtney.
Sorry. Trey platonic.
There we go. Trey platonic. Yeah. But I think that's also great because it means that I actually have a very healthy example of a friendship as my reference point. But I think it is that, right? Understanding what it means to journey with somebody. That's what this kind of last 4-year period of our friendship has done for me and done in my understanding and conception of friendships, but also relationships more broadly. I genuinely believe that, especially if you invest in one area, it leaks out into other areas. Being a person of integrity, there is no friendship that has taught me how to be a person of integrity like the one that we have.
Same.
The way that you have challenged me, the way that you have uplifted me, the way that you have supported me as an individual, even when I don't like it. Even when I don't like it. Exactly. I don't like it. Even when it makes me feel uncomfortable, it has always produced good fruit. It has always produced something, a sharpening of my character. It has always pushed me to be a better person. It has pushed me to be the person that I wrote down, so many years ago that I want to be, the woman that I want to be, the woman I'm becoming. All those adages that women,
the nice slogans.
right? The slogans that we steal off of Pinterest and whatnot and put on our boards. The actual deep work. And I think it's also given me an appreciation of what deep work is and what it looks like on a daily basis and how it changes, again, in its intensity, but also in the way that it is manifested. It has taught me how to be a better receiver of love, but also how to be a better giver, and that there is so much more to come, right? I think there's a saying that goes along the lines of the person that continues to, increase in knowledge and increase in wisdom is the person that understands that there is so much more to go. And whilst I have changed and I've evolved and I've developed, if there's one thing that has I've really had to reckon with, and one thing that I think is so pivotal to this evolving journey of friendship, is understanding that I'm still only scratching the surface. When we say lifelong, you haven't arrived. And that's what I love about TMS. That's what I love about our friendship, is the fact that it almost feels like a continued journey of scratching the surface because there's so much depth beneath it. The woman that I was when I started this podcast with you versus the woman that I am now, goodness gracious me. If you don't look back on yourself a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and you don't cringe, I don't think you've grown enough. Genuinely, I look back on myself and I kind of, you were a bit rough around the edges. You needed to be sanded down a little bit. You needed to go through a couple of things to really fortify who you are as a person. But I think that's what friendship does.
Yeah.
True friendship is a sanding down. It's a smoothing down of those edges, occasionally by fire, occasionally it will be by something softer, but usually it's by fire, right?
Usually.
And it has also taught me how to hold it down when things get tough. Because I think that, especially within the realms of friendship, especially women, we can be so quick to cut people off. We can be so quick to say, I'm at my wit's end. I'm ending this friendship.
Yeah.
I've developed too far, too fast,
Yeah.
or vice versa. And I don't want to do this with you anymore. And what I have learned in this journey of evolution about friendship and all that kind of stuff is there is hope, never to give up. And if you have a vision and a destiny bestie, best believe the vision with your destiny bestie is going to be made real. Like it's like genuinely, and actually seeing the fruit of that.
Yeah.
Actually having a friendship long enough where we've been able to see the fruit of the visions that we've written down, right?
Yeah.
When we started this podcast, we were there wearing the bonnets, you know, writing down, oh, wouldn't it be great if we did this with TMS? And we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're actually doing it. So having the capacity to dare for more has come as a direct result of pushing for the more with my friends, with you.
Yeah.
So 10 out of 10 would recommend to everyone. I've also said though, can you stop, like, there's people be, oh, you know, get you a Courtney. No, get somebody. You cannot have Courtney. Neither can you have Renee. Sorry, the position is occupado. And we spoke about this in like one of our last episodes where it's like, you know, okay, everybody is wanting their Boaz and ETC. Find your individual.
Find your own.
Go pluck your own, then come and steal. Don't be a thief. It's not good. That is an unnatural allegiance to loser behavior. Loser steals, and it's not like y'all.
Facts.
Don't steal.
Don't do that.
So don't be entering. I see some of y'all, oh, Courtney, can I have some of your time? ETC, stop it. She's not yours.
Fair enough.
Don't play with it.
Fair
so
enough.
that's what I've learned.
I
But
love that.
I threw the ball over to you,
Over
CDB.
to me.
Talk to me. This journey of friendship, evolution. How
Yeah.
have you changed as a woman? What have you
my days.
learned? Like, who is CDB today versus CDB?
Wow. Back then she was just Courtney. Now they call her CDB.
CDB. Courtney, Daniela. Occasionally, Daniela. Mind you.
Guys, I beg you in the name of God. Please, when you send us an email and you're addressing it to us, it's Renee and Courtney.
Yo.
If you want to be fancy, Courtney Daniela. But to call me Daniela is committing yourself to not getting a response. Yeah? Okay.
Hey, Daniela.
And it's the thing, we say it at the beginning of every podcast. It's not complex.
It's not.
It's not complex.
Although, you know, we recently had an email and somebody called me Renee, but with a B instead of the R.
As in Benet. I will call you that from now on.
Sounding like somebody's
Benet.
Congolese uncle. Stop. Benet. Stop. Stop it.
Well, Benet.
Oh my God. You know, it reminds me of benediction. Benet for short.
Benet, my shots dead. Nah, I think I have evolved so much. I think I've matured in the truest sense of the word. I feel like I was a woman with dreams. I was a girl with dreams, you know, but I think the accountability that friendship provides, it's like you said, when you write down a vision, your friend is going to make sure it gets done, and they're going to call you out if you're out of line with what it is you said you want to be, purely because they're invested in you, purely because they want everything good to happen for you. And I think our friendship has provided me with a level of accountability, which has made me a better friend, but a better businesswoman, a better sister, a better speaker, a better everything. Like, I think I've leveled up truly through our friendship and have grown closer to who God wants me to be. And I think faith has become an integral part to that journey, right? Which is asking God, who do you want me to be? And also bring me the resources I need to become that person. Because I can't just become it in isolation. I actually need people who will raise me through that. Like, it's almost like that process of discipleship. This is like peer-to-peer discipleship. You show me a dimension of Jesus, I'll show you a dimension of Jesus, and then we emulate it, right? And I think that's just comes through a commitment to, like you said, get through the tough times, but also do the journey on the long haul. Not everybody will get to have a friendship that has the same nature of ours, in the sense that we live together, we do business together, we're with each other a lot. But I guess the prayer for a situation like that is, God, if I'm gonna be with this person, I can't leave worse than I came. If I'm gonna be with this person literally and be stepping with them day after day after day, my life is going to become like them. I am going to start speaking like them. It's so funny because these days when we talk, we say the exact same thing.
No, it's actually quite funny.
It's actually quite funny. It's actually quite funny
quite
that
frightening.
like, even when people are talking to us, they'll be like, oh, Courtney would say that.
Yeah,
Or Renee would say that.
yeah.
That's exactly what Renee would
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like,
Real
because
rap.
when you spend so much time with someone, you start morphing into who they are. And so if you're trying to be like Jesus, you better hope this person you're spending all of your earthly time with looks a bit like him.
Just a tad.
You know?
Just at least a small
Just so
smidgen.
that it can also mold you. And I think being around you has helped me to become more of who God has called me to be, because you are who God calls you to be, right? And it's such a beautiful obedience to observe but also get to emulate. And I think as I've gotten older, my communication has gotten better, because I've learned that, like, I've said this on the podcast before, but I used to be very angry. Like, I
just grr.
like I'm just to myself.
Yeah.
And I think childhood trauma, life does you like that,
does,
right? Like,
yeah.
I grew up on an estate. Like, we're not friendly pally like that.
Like,
Don't do that.
when you grow up in ends, listen here,
Don't
it's not
do
just
that.
anybody that's friends with
Don't
you.
beg it.
Come
because
on, don't
you
be
will get robbed.
right.
So in my head, it was just like, you actually have to soften up. And it's funny because we often come and talk about like feminine energy content and stuff, but I genuinely feel like our friendship has made me more feminine, in that it has softened me and made me more open to nurturing someone and being nurtured in a way which I was closed off to before because of pain. And so I really do appreciate you for that, in that you exposed me to a sisterhood that was safe but also very warm, that I could grow in that feminine nurturing atmosphere. It sounds so like in the clouds, but I hope you get what I mean. I also think that the accountability of having to do business with someone who you actually really love and who you actually can't escape has meant that has meant that I've actually had to do the things that I need to do.
Right.
And I think a perfect evidence of this is TMS. Like, my day job is a content creator. I am a content creator for like multiple people and stuff. And I think for my own personal content, it was always like, I'll do it if I want to, I'll do it if I don't. But TMS, I guess, was officially my first client, like my first having to do something for someone else. Which was us, and obviously getting to bear the fruit of that, getting to be both in front of the camera but also behind the camera. Like, even as we talk about these 200 episodes, I edited each one. Like, I filmed each one, and each clip you've seen on YouTube and stuff like that, it's like I've seen my craft evolve purely not because I didn't have the skill. Obviously my skill has brushed up with more practice, but because I've had the accountability of someone being like, this is what you said you're going to do, this is what you said you want to do, so go and do it, right? 100. And like I said, it's accountability that cannot be escaped. So it's forced me to really go after my goal, and I've seen my own personal business grow from that. I've seen TMS grow from 100. That, and I don't think it would have happened if it wasn't for our friendship. Now, if this was purely a business relationship, I think I would have given up a long time ago, because it's like, I can just block you. Like, I can actually block your number, block your email. I don't care about what you think about my reputation. I will
even write like fake reviews on Google and say that you should.
Do you get what I mean? But because you're my friend, it's like, to flop you is to almost let go of the friendship. And I know you'll forgive me, but like you said, it's embarrassing. It's like, this is actually someone whose opinion matters more to me than just someone giving me a good review on my work.
Right.
But how you view me as a person, if I constantly let you down, that's a problem. It's a problem that's deeper than just, oh, a work contract fell through. It's actually, this is my friend. My word means something to her, and her satisfaction also means something to me. So it's forced me to become a better businesswoman and deliver more. I think you've taught me a lot about even professional communication because of that. And so so it's been nice.
Alas.
And your girl has made money since.
Hello.
You know, she's richer, she's better.
Real rap. No, genuinely. I love that. It's really given elevation. We often talk about like the favor that exists in like covenant, like marriage and that. But there's really, just that thing that
you got to make it. You've got to say it rugged,
so
that it's not too mushy.
Yeah, rugged with a little bit of edge to it. Fact. I was talking about sanding down. Sometimes you got to jerk up the edges small.
Do you say jerk?
Yeah. You know, you got to roughen up the edges just a little bit. But there is a favor in friendship that
Yeah.
is often not spoken about, like the favor to flourish. Heavy on that
Boy.
accountability. Nah, man, because standing beside a titan like CDB, obviously we've been friends for a long time, and
very
we've
long
been doing
time.
the annoying duo for a long time. You
Yeah.
know, we sit in front of all of our classes and whatnot because we're here to obviously go to school. I
We're
don't
here
know
to
what
excel.
we're here,
We're here to
heavy
excel.
on the Excel.
Please.
We're not here to just run amok with you ruffians. We're here to actually do something important, and actually having someone that I can look to and say, this is actually my peer.
Yeah.
And there will be times where Courtney is running her head. I said, child, I gotta catch up.
And
I
vice
got
versa,
to catch
girl.
up, and vice versa. And actually having someone that I can say, nah, this is like my partner. Because there's too many times, especially for us as women, it's so easy to look at people as competition. So easy to look at other women as, yes, you're my contemporary, yes, you're my peer, but you're my competition too. And we often say, you know, healthy competition is good, and I'm not denying that. But actually having healthy collaboration, healthy companionship, actually somebody to do the big stuff with, genuinely incomparable. There's so many things and so many fears I've overcome by virtue of being with you. Like, doing our live shows in front of thousands of people, I would look out into the audience and I'm like, how did all of you guys get here? And you're looking at us to deliver something special.
Something
Then something profound, something deep, if you will, from the belly. A river will flow forth. That's what they're expecting. You know
That's
what
what
I'm
they're
saying?
expecting.
They said,
It's
I
true.
want some prophetic unction to come out from you today. You know? And being able to look at that crowd or looking at the abyss and simultaneously look back over to you and say, this is actually my friend on this couch and we've got this. Man, the level of calmness, but also confidence that gives me is incomparable to anything else. And that probably is so important, like having the confidence to do things. The confidence doesn't just come from internally me psyching myself up, but the confidence in friendship, the confidence in covenant, the confidence in accountability. I genuinely don't know how people are doing this life without that. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
If you're doing that and you're succeeding,
If it's working for you,
if it's working for you,
on
don't
the
let me,
podcast.
don't let me yuck your yum.
So let me yuck your yum.
But let me show you something that's yummier.
Come on.
Yeah, let me show you something that's yummier. Like, I know that you enjoyed that vanilla, but have you thought about, you know, something with a little razzle dazzle?
A little razzle dazzle.
A little razzle dazzle. And I think that's what our friendship is, right? It is the razzle dazzle. It is, you know, the crown jewel. And having someone I can point to and say, that's my crown jewel, like that's my pièce de résistance, that's my,
somebody.
you know, the French girls are tired.
That's that Benet coming up. That's that Benet.
Sorry, look, I still have a bone to pick with the French though. After that experience at Charles de Gaulle, the gumption that Charles de Gaulle had. But we will overcome. We have the capacity to overcome these things. Maybe in 2025 I'll overcome it.
Maybe.
You know, it's a new year and all that jazz.
Yeah.
It's still fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, the confidence that comes from covenant with your friend, I'm hoping that, not even I'm hoping, I'm praying that as we enter into this next season of TMS, our friendship, what we're bringing into the world, that simultaneously there will be a rising and a revival of covenant friendships that women will be able to drink from.
And I think that's the perfect way to end this episode.
Well,
Wow. Well, sisters, we actually pray you enjoy what is to come. Don't worry, the blue couch has not been thrown away.
Yeah, we
She'll
still
be
get
here
there.
at
We
some
still
point,
get there.
But
We
we
still
figure
get
it out.
there.
But
I mean, still neutral. We got
it's still 100%.
What do you call
I've
it?
got a blue pillow.
Blue cushion.
She's with us in spirit. But we pray for all the best. We hope that you share these episodes, but also that you benefit from these episodes.
Right.
That actually they change your life.
Absolutely.
And they impart something in you that you take in for a lifetime. Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, you can continue to be part of the TMS movement by following us all on our social media. Literally at To My Sisterhood everywhere. We want this to be a sisterhood revolution. You guys are the frontline soldiers. So Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere that you could possibly see our faces at To My Sisterhood. And of course, follow my lovely bestie over here at CD Boateng. And of course, come and follow me over at Renee Kapuku.
We love to see it and sign up to the mailing list on our website, tomysisters.com. But sisters, we will see you in our next episode. Maybe it won't just be us. Hey. Anyways. And as always, keep glowing and growing.
Ciao.